Okay, so pretty much by far the most complicated event to handle in this particular application is on evaluate click. So I'm actually going to really take a bit of time here to write out a good comment to explain what it needs to do. So evaluate is of course like the equals button. So when we do that, of course, we want to we want to grab the latest sorry, I should say the current expression within the view model. We want to get whatever the user has put into the view model, and of course the view is a reflection of that, but we don't need to grab it directly from the view per se. I think that's how I did it before, but it's probably better to talk to the view model for the state. So in any case, we want to grab the current expression. I'm going to put this into like items. Number one, grab the current expression from the view model. Number two, excuse me. For number two, give that data to the eval repo. We'll just say, well, repository. I realize not everyone is familiar with my shortenings. Okay, so we've got that. Display appropriate result. And then, so this is where we get two different cases. So that's going to be one of A. Expression was valid, display result of calculating that expression. Okay, and for B, this is when it's invalid. So when it's invalid, we're just going to display a toast, say. So this is how you kind of want to, this is why you want to write these things out and kind of itemize like this. I do suggest it, because when you're faced with tests that you have to write that's a little more complicated, and you're someone like me, it kind of just helps to have like a step-by-step process. So anyways, I'm really good at like designing architectures in my head, but I forget steps as I'm going through them. So that's just my personal issue. Anyways, all right. So we want to call on evaluate click. And so what we need to do is, of course, we'll start by, we're going to need to grab that current expression. So this is where Mock's every function is going to come in handy again. So we're going to type every view model dot get display state returns. So this is going to be on evaluate click valid expression, and I'll create another one for an invalid expression. So that's going to return. So what I like to do here is, let's create like a constant here, a val, and we'll use uppercase, an uppercase string. So that's going to be val, we'll say test valid expression. I am totally making this up as I go. Test valid expression equals, let's just say 2. Well, I think what I had it before as was 2 plus 2, so I'm not totally making this up, but yep. There. So that's going to return our specific data here. And the reason why you want to use this is then down below I can make sure. All right, so now I want to sort of verify that in this case view model had get display state called, like so. And so we're verifying that that's getting called, and then we're also telling or explaining, okay, what to return when it gets called. And that's how we kind of shape these different unit tests to test them in valid cases and invalid cases. So anyways, we've got the view model interaction here. Then we want to give that data to the eval. So generally speaking, we're going to want to have mock responses in this case. So this is an interesting thing. I'm going to write this out the wrong way, as we'll see in a minute, but I'm going to type eval dot evaluate expression, and the expression is going to be test valid expression. Now it's going to show up, and we are going to get an error message which says suspend function evaluate expression should be called only from a coroutine or another suspending function. So in order to get rid of this error, we need to say with our test function equals run blocking. So I don't have time. So this is a coroutine builder. Let me just, yes, import it, you silly thing. There we go. So this is going to provide a coroutine scope for this test to run in, and that will get rid of this issue here. So suspension, it's still complaining, but I think what I need to do now is we need to say co-every, and there we go. So what just happened here? So number one, we got our test, we made it so that our test has a run blocking coroutine scope, which was super easy to do. And then we're using a special Mockk DSL function here called co-every. And what it allows us to do is it allows us to create the same sort of mock return statements. So we're going to say returns. Now in this case, I do know ahead of time what it's going to return. It's going to return a result, but I need to set up the test valid answer. The answer is going to be 4. Sure hope I get that right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to return test valid answer. Okay, it's complaining because that needs to be in a result wrapper. Okay, and then we give it the test valid answer and it stops complaining. So we use co-every when we want to test a suspending function. So the reason it's screaming is if I hop into I think even just evaluator, the interface, you'll notice it's a suspending function. It's meant to be used in coroutines. So I don't have time to explain what they are, but just know that it's a way to bridge concurrency issues and things like that, and that's all I can really say about it for now. So we're going to just check. Okay, so after we get the valid expression returned, we need to display the appropriate result. So in this case, I think what I want to do, that's basically it for our mock responses, I think. I just need to get display state and call that on the evaluator. And then we need to verify a couple different things. So we're going to use another special co-verify function here. And what that's going to do is we can now say eval.evaluate expression. If I were to take that away, it would complain again. Like so. So earlier I think I said that error was caused by not having run blocking. That will throw an error if you're calling coroutines, but it looks like that's actually a Mockk warning, which was quite handy. Okay, so we're calling eval.evaluate expression, and I want to make sure it's called with the test valid expression, so we can copy paste that. Okay, and I also want to make sure that we're rendering the view appropriately. We're not going to say bind event listener. What we are going to say is view dot, is it set display? Yep. And I want the display to just be, I just remembered, I think it returns doubles, so we're going to make that 4.0. It doesn't really matter, but just for consistency's sake, I'll return double toString. But yeah, I just want to make sure it gets the test valid answer given to it, which is a string. So yeah, and then get display state, and we're also going to be calling view.set view models update method. What's that? Set display state as well, and set display state valid answer is correct. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and execute that test function here, and it should fail. Okay, and then we will go ahead and implement that. Okay, let's just dive into coding this. So we're going to now handle view event dot on evaluate click, and again we're just going to mirror that on evaluate click, alt enter, create function. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull this test onto the other monitor so that I don't have to keep jumping back and forth between them, and I'm going to wait for it to show up here. There we go. Okay, and so on evaluate click, so we start by grabbing the current data in the view model. So we're going to say val current expression equals view model dot get display state, and then we're going to give that to the evaluator. So we're going to say eval. So this is going to end up needing to be our asynchronous function. So again, I'm going to use a coroutine builder here. If you don't know what this is, just kind of don't worry about it. Or we're going to use the launch coroutine builder, like so. And that's because we're calling eval, and it is a suspending function, so that's why we need to do that. Technically, this is overkill. It's because it's a simple calculator, but this will help you down the road if you kind of learn from it. Anyways, so evaluate expression, current expression, just like so. And we're going to return a result wrapper. We're actually not going to create this val here. Let's just kind of shorten things up and go a little more functional style. There, that looks a bit better. And so we're going to do that. We are going to get return a this thing returns a result wrapper, as you can see here, evaluation result. So we're going to return one of those and just check its status. So we'll say val result equals eval blah blah blah. You get the idea. We're going to use a when matcher again. When result, and so it's either going to be evaluation result dot, come on, give me a hint, dot value. Oops, yeah, I think it's value. Okay, when it's a value is what I'm missing. There we go. Okay, so I didn't really think of it, but I just realized this is going to have to be tested as a separate unit. And so that's going to mean that we need to reform our test a little bit, because I don't actually need to be quite as explicit as before to test this particular path here. So we're going to head back to the test class, which, let me guess, it's the last one. Nope, I guess I just totally closed it. No, it's on the side. There we go. Okay, so we're not going to end up calling view.setDisplay. That's going to be called when we test our observer function, so I'll need to create another test for that. We do want to call getDisplayState. We do want to call setDisplayState. So let's try running that test. And test failed. Late init property job tracker has not been initialized. Okay, so what needs to happen here is we need to create an init function to initialize job tracker. So we're going to type init job tracker. Okay, so that should fix the error. Oh yeah, as 50 cent doth saith, I get money. I'm in the green. Okay, so as you can see, this is kind of like live in action test-driven development and how it kind of plays out. So I'm going to finish this thing off and then demonstrate it hopefully when all the tests are passing. But you should get the general idea by now that it's kind of a process which can actually guide the implementation of the different parts of your architecture or your program. And yeah, I'll ramble some more in a moment. Okay, there's on changed implemented properly and pretty damn simple. So for some reason, this string that gets passed in here is nullable. Oh, right, it's because it's from live data. So I'm just using the Elvis operator here. So if t is null, then what we do is we set it to just, it'll default to this, whatever you put on this side of the Elvis operator. If it's not null, then it'll just be the value of t, which can't be null. So yeah, little tip on nullability there. Anyways, what I'll do is I'm not going to, like I say, take you through writing out all of these different classes. At this point, what I would do is I would run the whole test suite and see what I'm missing. There we go. And yeah, so it looks like we got these ones. So let me just hop back when I implement those different functions down there. All right, so I've implemented onDelete click not empty and onDelete click empty. So as I was writing out that function, I realized that if the current display state is already empty, there's no sense dropping the last character of an empty string. So yeah, those two work. So again, when we have kind of different potential scenarios going on, it's good to isolate them and set up tests for each potential scenario. All right, so as you can see, the entire test suite is working properly. I just wanted to highlight one more feature of Mockk, which I used in this test suite. So there was another option. So in certain cases when you want to make sure that something was not called, you can use this little syntax here. So you can either supply a specific, actually I think I can just supply the mock here. You can also supply a list of mocks, but in this case we only have one single one, which we need to. And so this should just verify that the view was not called in this particular interaction. And the reason I want to check on that in this particular case is that when we have an empty string as the current state, we obviously don't want to delete anything from that, and therefore we don't have to actually update the view state because it's already empty. So yeah, at this point, once you've got all of your tests passing, you would either consider this particular feature probably done, or if you're like me, you would want to see if you can deploy this application and if it'll actually work. If I check the view contract, we have how many? So we've got, oh, it looks like, oh, right. So there's no test for onDestroy because I don't actually have any way of kind of mocking what happens, but this is where we do want to double check. I don't think I did implement that. And so I'll add that in. So this is the key. You want to have multiple different ways of kind of verifying the completion of your program. You want to have some idea. Okay, that totally got screwed up. So this is going to be view event dot onDestroy. And in onDestroy, we're just going to want to cancel the background work. So in that case, we're going to create another function onDestroy, rather. And when that happens, we can make this into a single expression function by deleting the brackets, hitting an equals sign. And so we're going to say job tracker dot cancel. And that's basically that. So we'll hop into demo to see if this works, do any bug fixing if I screwed anything else up, and then that'll be the end of the tutorial pretty quick here. Alright, so I'm just about to heat my entire apartment by attempting to deploy this application to my phone, which is emulated on the screen here, and we'll see if it works. No guarantees. Okay, that took 27 seconds, and here we have the application up, so I'm gonna see what I can do here. Let's try 8. Oh, that works. Times 8. So I believe that is 32. No, I'm just kidding. That's 64. And we have 64. Okay, does the delete function work? Yep, single delete works. Let's try the long click delete. That works. Let's try giving it, let's do an operator first. Oh, invalid expression. Cool, can't start with an operator. Let's try 23.2.2.2 plus 9. Oh, okay, well, we got a crash. Yeah, so it looks like I'm going to have to improve my back-end validation logic a little bit. But anyways, that's basically, if you're curious, this is what was occurring here. So what's happening is that we're being given a operator that's not actually an operator. So anyways, I'm not going to bore everyone with bug fixing that, because the thing that I actually cared about testing, verifying, is all set. There's actually a slim chance that there's a slight error in the code causing that issue, but what I wanted to be able to do is just send the entire display into the back end for the most part, and let the back end worry about telling me if it's invalid or not. And in this case, we have an error being thrown in the back end. So whatever, that's totally fine. I'll fix that before I upload this code. But yeah, that's basically it for the tutorial part of test-driven development. Alright, well, it's pretty late in the evening. I hope everyone enjoyed that. So this was kind of a edited experience of me taking you along with something I was already going to do, and hopefully sharing my process in a way which allowed you to learn a couple things, learn about Mockk, learn about unit testing, learn about test-driven development. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but I actually do it, and I actually use the same process to build out the more complicated applications which I've built recently, such as Space Notes. So thank you very much. Hopefully that was useful. If it was, do consider hitting the like button down below. Consider throwing me a couple bucks on PayPal if you so please, and consider supporting and following WiseAss on your preferred social media networks. Once again, thank you to Olexi P for helping me out with some info on this tool he has, and for making Mockk. And just, thank you to the Android and Kotlin community. It's really wonderful community to be a part of. And, I'm going to keep pushing for people to adopt testing, because I do think it's something that's worth investing the time in. And hopefully we can just kind of continue to get other people on board. So anyways, whether you do the full test-driven development thing, or you just write tests to verify the behavior and contracts of your application, I'm not going to scream at you either way, but hopefully at some point you do consider learning to test, because I do think it's worth it. So thank you for watching, and it can be, it can take a while to get things sorted out. It took me many months to be able to write tests this quickly and fluently, but like I say, I think it's worth it for you. Peace out.